All right, everybody, welcome back. You know how it is, right? You open up like any bookstore or even like you go online
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like, bam, self-help books everywhere,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Every single one's like promising you the moon,
Yeah.
happier, richer, like whatever you want. It's right there on the cover.
Uh-huh, yeah.
But today we're diving into one that's, well, kind of legend,
Okay, yeah.
Your Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer.
Classic.
Yeah, and one of our listeners actually requested a deep dive on this one. They want to know, does it still hold up? I mean, the thing was published, what, like 1976?
36, yeah.
And it sold like a gazillion copies?
Over 100 million, supposedly.
So is it all hype? Is there something timeless here? Let's find out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so first off, gotta say, the core idea here is pretty powerful. Like, Dyer's whole thing is that we choose our emotions, not, like the world's out to get us or whatever.
Right, it's not just fate.
Exactly. We're not just victims. We have the power to decide how we're going to feel.
And that was actually really revolutionary back then. Like, think about it in the 70s, psychology was still, you know, very much focused on the past.
Oh, yeah.
All about digging into your childhood and stuff.
All right.
And Dyer's coming along saying, hey, you can be empowered in this moment.
Yeah, forget Freud, right? This is about taking charge right here, right now.
Exactly. And it clearly struck a nerve. I mean, look at the sales figures.
Yeah. And what's cool is he gets specific. Like, he tackles guilt, worry, that whole needing everyone to like you thing. Stuff we all deal with.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I know I worry way too much.
Oh, yeah, me too. And I think that's why this book resonated with so many people. It's relatable. It's talking about these universal human struggles.
Yeah. I mean, who hasn't felt that pang of guilt or stayed up all night worrying about something?
Exactly.
But, and this is key, Dyer doesn't just like wave his hand and say, be happy.
Right. It's not just toxic positivity.
No way. He gives you actual strategies, tools to work with. And the way the book's laid out, it's like each chapter is a different erroneous zone. So it's super clear, easy to digest.
I think that structure really contributes to its appeal, too. It's not overwhelming.
Yeah, it's very actionable, right? Like you can pick it up, open to any chapter, and get something useful out of it.
Exactly.
So let's get into a specific example. This whole choosing your emotions thing, it can sound a little, I don't know, abstract.
Right.
Like, how does that actually work?
Okay, well, Dyer uses this analogy. Imagine someone's like insulting you. They're throwing words at you, trying to get a reaction.
Ouch, yeah.
But Dyer says it's your choice whether you let those words get to you. You can choose to let them roll off your back, not take it personally.
I see. So it's about like recognizing that you have this space between the event and your reaction. And in that space, you have a choice.
Exactly. You're not a puppet on strings reacting automatically to everything that happens around you.
Okay, that makes sense. But is it always that easy? Like, what about when something seriously bad happens? Do we really have that much control?
Well, I think that's where those strategies come in, right?
Yeah.
Like Dyer talks a lot about guilt, getting stuck rehashing past mistakes.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one for me. The woulda, coulda, shouldas.
Right. But he says that guilt is often self-imposed, and it keeps us, paralyzed, unable to move forward.
So what's the antidote?
His advice is to let go of the past.
Okay.
Focus on what you can do now.
Easier said than done, right?
Well, sure, it takes practice, but it's about that shift in focus from dwelling on what you can't change to what you can influence in the present.
So it's not about like denying your emotions or pretending bad things didn't happen. It's more like choosing a different way to look at them.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that you have power over how they affect you.
Ah, I like that. Like choosing a different lens to view things through.
There you go. And this ties into another big point Dyer makes, worry. He says it's basically a waste of energy.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. He compares it to paying interest on a loan you haven't even taken out yet.
Haha, that's a good one.
So instead of worrying about what might happen, he says focus your energy on what you can actually control.
Okay, so all this talk about choosing our emotions is pretty compelling, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely empowering.
But there's been some, debate about the book's originality. Like, Dyer was accused of borrowing a lot from this guy, Albert Ellis.
Ah, yes.
And his thing, rational emotive behavior therapy, or VRTA.
Right. Well, there are definitely similarities. REAT, at its core, is about how it's not the event itself that upsets us, it's our beliefs about it.
Okay, can you give an example?
Sure. Let's say you have to give a big presentation at work.
Ugh, yeah, stressful.
Right. But REBT would say it's not the presentation itself that makes you anxious. It's your belief that you might mess up or that people will judge you.
Ah, I see. So it's like the story we're telling ourselves about the event.
Exactly. And Dyer's book definitely echoes this idea, encouraging readers to challenge those negative beliefs.
So yeah, there's overlaps, but here's the thing. Even Ellis, the guy who called Dyer out, admitted that Your Erroneous Zones was actually pretty effective in, getting these ideas across to a wider audience.
Totally. And that's what matters, right? If it helps people, then it's done its job.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't deny Dyer's writing is super clear, very direct.
Oh, absolutely.
Even if you've never, cracked open a psychology textbook, you can get it.
Yeah, he takes complex concepts and makes them accessible and relatable.
Right, which I think is like a big part of why it resonated with so many people.
For sure. It's practical, it's empowering, it's not bogged down in jargon.
So even with the controversy, it sounds like Your Erroneous Zones still offers some pretty valuable tools, for understanding our emotions and maybe even like taking control of them.
Absolutely. It's a call to action, right? To take responsibility for our inner world and, choose a more positive, empowered way of being.
Love it. So to our listener who suggested this deep dive, hope we answered your question.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And to everyone listening, let me ask you this. If you really bought into this idea that you choose your emotions, what's the first erroneous zone you'd tackle in your own life?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. What's that one thing you could start choosing differently, like today?
Something to think about for sure.
It is. Thanks for joining us, everybody. And hey, let us know what you discover on your journey to conquer those erroneous zones.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear from you.